Janet Cage, patch notes, crossplay, invasion mode updates, Omni-Man's hidden brutality, and much more. We've got a lot to cover in this Mortal Kombat 1 update. Let's state the obvious first. Season 3 of Invasions mode is now live and will run until the middle of February, which happens to be the time when Peacemaker will launch. Also, Quan Chi is now playable as part of the Combat Pack 1, so let me know how you're liking him in the comments. Alright, so Janet Cage, the alternate timeline variant of Johnny Cage, was first hinted at being a cameo fighter ever since WB released a statement regarding the contents of the Combat Pack 1 back when the game first released. At that time, however, the storefronts of all Mortal Kombat 1 platform pages indicated that Johnny Cage was going to be one of the cameo fighters being featured. Now we're currently at the end of the year, and all these listings for the storefront pages have been changed and now have Johnny Cage replaced with Janet Cage, indicating that Janet Cage will indeed be one of the cameo fighters included in the Combat Pack 1. With that said, are you more interested in Janet Cage as a cameo over Johnny Cage? Let me know in the comments, and as for me, I'm honestly more interested in having her in there than another main roster fighter serving as a cameo. Speaking of cameo fighters, we have new patch notes to go over here, with some rather large changes happening to the existing cameo fighters. Starting with the cameo updates from this latest patch, we see a sweeping list of adjustments for cameo fighters, with the most noteworthy ones being Kano's eye laser now being a mid, which was formerly a high, Sonya's energy rings are now a mid, and perhaps biggest of all, Darius was given a brand new move. In the patch notes, we see the heel turn cameo attack added for Darius, engaged with down and R1, which is a new ambush attack that can only be performed when the opponent is knocked down or about to land after being hit. With Tremor and Chameleon both offering more varied movesets for their cameo offerings, I wouldn't doubt we are going to see some more moves being added to the existing cameo roster that debuted with Mortal Kombat 1. In addition to the cameo updates, we have plenty of bug fixes for the main roster, ranging from audio bugs and visual issues with certain moves under varying conditions being resolved. In fact, that's what you're going to see with a lot of these patch notes here, as the vast majority of this update fixes certain bugs permeating throughout all the game modes, but here are some of the most notable updates with this patch. The Sleigh Bells finisher, also known as the Holiday Fatality, has been put into the game for those who bought it. A new arena called Winter Wonderland has been added to the stage select screen and is a variant to the Gateway Arena. A Wi-Fi filter has also been added during ranked matchmaking, in which we are now presented with information about the match connection with the option to decline before proceeding. There are also various Invasions mode updates of which we will get into later, but yeah, what do you think about these patch notes? I know a lot of you are still super irritated by the monetization and the microtransaction heavy nature of Mortal Kombat 1 and the lackluster Invasions mode as an excuse for single player content. But outside of that stuff, I'm curious to hear what you have to say about these updates pertaining to the game. In relation to the new Wi-Fi filter being added, we did get confirmation as part of the recent Combat Cast that crossplay will be coming next year. This highly anticipated update is set to hit the game sometime in February 2024, but there's a catch. It seems like all platforms other than the Switch version will support this feature, and while disappointing for Switch users, it isn't entirely surprising, seeing as how poorly the game plays on that platform. While the Switch version has improved since the game launched, it looks like only those on the PC, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5 versions will have access to this feature. Seeing as Mortal Kombat 1's daily PC counts are around 4,000 active players, this cross-play functionality will open up not just the PC players to the larger console player base, but overall expand the number of players who can link up in multiplayer. This is definitely a welcome feature, as sometimes on PC, I continue running into the same players over and over, so it will be nice to have a larger pool of players to play against when this update lands. For all the Combat League players out there, are you looking forward to this feature to finally hit the game after it was marketed to release with this functionality at launch? Let me know in the comments. As for the Invasions mode updates, Sub-Zero's Season 3 is underway, and it will last all the way until mid-February, so there's still plenty of time left to earn your Season 3 skins and palettes. While Season 3 doesn't offer any new mesas in Invasions mode, we've got a new seasonal tower that offers palettes, with mini-bosses now being featured at the end of the tower, new boss music, and in a change most people will be happy with, Invasions mode has opening match dialogue featured in some of the battles, including the towers. Definitely a head scratcher as to why this dialogue was missing from the towers and from Invasions mode from the start, but thankfully, it's now here. In the video description, I will include the excellent 100% complete Season 3 guide for Invasions mode made by iScream on Twitter if you are looking at getting everything before Season 4 begins in February. Thanks to Season 3 being available, we can now confirm that Melina will be the star of Season 4, and that Raiden will likely be the star of Season 5 after that, due to the data mine that Twitter users The Thinny and Interloco discovered. And keeping up with the solid updates happening and coming to Mortal Kombat 1, NetherRealm Studios recently conducted a survey regarding fans' thoughts of Invasions mode. While the survey is no longer available, fans were asked a series of questions regarding aspects of the mode itself, from the mesas to boss fights, story unlockables, and more. This was essentially just a way for fans to provide feedback for the developers, which is, and let me be hopeful for a second, super reassuring because it lets us know that they are open to hearing and perhaps implementing new solutions to otherwise fix this largely unimpressive single-player mode. Redditor Turtle Forest said it best when he wrote in the survey, quote, "Too many non-impactful fights make it feel a bit too grindy." I'd say 95% of the spaces are fight spaces. Adding in spaces where you interact with characters or NPCs, explore the lore of the stages or world, or have characters interacting with each other would make the game mode feel slightly more alive than the monotonous infinite grind of fights it feels like now. We have all these different mesas, and they're all functionally the same. With this game being supported for several years into the future, it's likely we will continue to see small but significant changes happening to Invasions mode. And well, hey, that's certainly not a bad thing. Let me know what you'd like to see in future Invasions mode seasons in the comments. In a previous update, we addressed that Omni-Man had a hidden mustache brutality found within the game's code, first unearthed by The Thinny on Twitter. Now, thanks to Interloco's data mining, he managed to procure exactly what this unused brutality was going to be. In this video from Interloco, we see Omni-Man push away his opponent before ripping off his mustache, which flies through the air and mercilessly attacks his opponent. While these are all preliminary animations within the code, the final product of this brutality would leave Omni-Man with a bloody patch where his mustache would have been, and also leave his opponent lifeless on the floor. We can also see from Interloco's video how the opponent would react to the mustache brutality as shown here. More interesting about this entire brutality is that in order to trigger the finisher, an unused ability must be performed first, which would be the ability to sacrifice your cameo fighter as a sort of meat shield that would absorb incoming attacks. After the cameo were to be sacrificed, would Omni-Man then proceed to rip off his mustache and the brutality would commence. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments, as I particularly like the whole meat shield cameo mechanic that would add an additional layer to the game, and of course, the mustache. Perhaps this meat shield mechanic may be more appropriately introduced for Homelander? Be sure to watch this video going in depth about what we are likely to see from Mortal Kombat 1's story mode expansion that was recently confirmed by Ed Boon, and stay tuned for more Mortal Kombat updates as the game continues to evolve. Thank you all for your continued support, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.